Today we'll be talking about appointment day for an RFC, but I'm also going to be drinking tea, a matcha tea latte to be exact. So come along. I'm really excited to share with you today my experience of getting an RFC at the SAT office as a temporary resident after waiting several months in the virtual line. And if you don't know how to get in that virtual line, check out a previous video I did on the subject. 2 acronyms you'll need to know. 1, RFC, Registro Federal de Contribuyentes. 2, SAT, Servicio de Administración Tributaria. In today's video, we'll be talking about my experience getting an RFC. Although it's an arduous process and it's a very long line, stick around to the end of the video and I'll tell you how you can potentially skip the line and get it faster. So for sure for this appointment, you'll need 4 things, maybe 5, and if you're me, definitely 6. Number 1, your appointment confirmation. They will send this to you via email. They won't accept it showing them on your phone, so make sure you print it out. So you'll need the confirmation of your appointment. Number 2, proof of address or comprobante de domicilio. So proof of address, it can be in the form of a bill, but it has to be a recent bill within the last 2 months. Number 3, the printout of your CURP. And if you don't know how to print this document out, check out a previous video I did on the subject. I walk you through all the steps that you need to do to find your CURP as well as to print it. You'll absolutely need it for this appointment. Number 4, an ID. For residents of Mexico, you can bring in your temporary or permanent resident ID. If you wish, you can bring in your driver's license. I'm not sure if that will work, but I know for me, I brought in my resident card. For citizens of Mexico, you can bring in your INE, your driver's license, or any other official document. You can also bring in your passport. Number 5, some offices require a USB drive. My office did, so I brought it in. So I'd say bring it in just in case, because you'll be saving your e-firma. And number 6, bring a pen. If you hate germs, bring a pen. It'll definitely make a difference because you'll be signing a lot of paperwork. And I will preface and say it, there's going to be a lot of sitting down and getting up in this story, but overall it was a very organized process, and I'll say I was very well pleased with it. So my husband takes me to the appointment, and there's a doorman with a clipboard outside of there. I asked him which line to get in. He tells me the line on the right is for individuals with appointments. He makes sure I have an appointment, and he directs me to the line. I get in the line and maybe waited about 15 or 20 minutes to go into the building. So before I go in, I again show him my appointment confirmation, print it out, as well as my official ID. I brought in my resident card. Next, I was directed to enter. Once I entered, I went to the receptionist and I gave her all of my supporting documents. She asked for my appointment confirmation, my official identification, and made sure that my face matched my ID and that the name on the ID matched the appointment. She then asked for the printout of my CURP, and she also asked for my proof of address. I gave it all to her. She said good. She also asked me if I had a USB. I said yes. She proceeded to tell me, okay, pásale, and I could go to the next counter. At that counter, there was a section of computers. Once it was my turn, I sat at the computer and typed in all of my information, which they then later generated a piece of paper from it, to put it simply. After I got that piece of paper, I went back to the counter. I gave her that paper, and she gave me a number. She told me to just sit down and wait for my number to be called. Once my number was called, I went to the next counter. At that counter, I gave them that piece of paper. I showed them my number, then I gave them the piece of paper. They had me sign a piece of paper, and they gave me out another piece of paper and collected all of my documents. And then they instructed me to go sit again and wait. I went to sit back down. As I was sitting in the waiting area, waiting for my number to be called again, an individual came and gave me all of my supporting documents. They had made copies. Can you believe that they made copies for themselves? Okay. Gave me my documents, and then once my number was called, I went to the next counter. I gave them all of my documents again. I gave them the paper that they had printed out at the last counter, and then they asked for specifically my proof of address. So I gave them the first page of my proof of address that had the actual address on there, which was my Telmex bill. Telmex is a phone and internet service here in Mexico. And the bill was maybe 6 pages, but only the first page had my address on it. So I gave that page to him, but he said, no, I need the whole bill. And he had me write affirmation on there that this was indeed my address, which was new. I never had that happen before. And he prints out my constancia de situación fiscal, my first ever. I had an RFC. And after that, they would collect all of the biometric data for my e-Federal. So I went back, I sat down, waited for my number to be called, and once it was called, I went to another section of the SAT office in which they took my eye scan, my fingerprints, a picture of my face, as well as an electronic signature that I signed. After that, there was no more waiting. I went back to the computer section with my USB drive. I plugged it in. I tested my login, made sure it worked. That was it. That's all she wrote. The whole process took maybe about 2 hours, but it was very organized and I was very impressed, especially coming from an individual who doesn't speak Spanish the greatest. So that's my experience of getting my RFC at the SAT office after waiting several months in the virtual line. I can confirm that there are other ways of getting your RFC without waiting several months in a virtual line. I know individuals who've paid around 5,000 pesos to individuals who offer those services. That's roughly $250 US. How they acquire those RFCs, I'm not sure. But it is 100% legal, official, and a real RFC. If that's something that you need, I would say check with your local Mexican lawyer or notaria. Or who knows, maybe they know someone who offers the service. But I'm not recommending it. It's personally not the way I would, but I just wanted to let you know of the options.